We're going to be looking at examples 1 and 2 in your section 4.1 notes. In example 1, we want to use the graph shown to identify on our interval from A to B where there might be an absolute maximum value or an absolute minimum. So this is actually a pretty easy idea to see in a picture. So the absolute maximum value would be the highest point on the graph, which I can see is right here. So if I go down, I can say that there's an absolute max at the x value of c. Okay, the absolute minimum value is the lowest value on the graph. Unfortunately, because of this open circle here, that would be a candidate for the lowest value on the graph, but it's not filled in. So there's no absolute minimum for this graph. Okay, if this was closed, that would be our absolute minimum. That completes example 1. Now let's look at example 2. Okay, example 2 is another graph. And this graph, we would like to not only figure out the absolute max and the absolute min, but we would also like to figure out the local max and the local min. So we'll start with the absolute max. So the absolute high point occurs right here. Okay, and I look down, so I see that x equals p is our absolute max. So that's where that occurs. Okay, our absolute min is our lowest point. So if I look on our graph right here, the lowest point occurs at x equals u. Okay. All right, so now we're going to be looking at the local max and min. So we come to local maximums kind of at the top of our hills. One thing to note is that local maximums cannot occur at the endpoints, so we know that we will not have A and B as an answer. Okay, so I would say this is a local max. That's the top of a hill. Okay, here, right here, this is another local max. All right, and then we come to another top right here. That's another local max. So we end up having 3 local maximums. So x equals, if I look down, I'm going to have P, R, and T, or we have local maximums occurring. Okay, so local minimums will be at the bottom of our hills. Again, they cannot occur at the endpoints. So we have a first local minimum right here at this bottom. We have another local minimum right here at this bottom. And then we have another local minimum right here, okay, at this bottom. Okay, so we have local minimums at x equals Q, S, and U. Okay. All right, please note from this example that it is okay to have a spot that has an absolute max and a local. So we see that happens in the case of P. P is an absolute max and it's also a local max. And the same thing for the absolute min and local min. X equals U is the absolute min, but it is also a local min for this graph. That completes example 2.